Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Every Calorie Counts podcast. We took, a week off? I guess a week and a half because we didn't post for 2 Fridays and now it's Sunday. Tim has been away and we're going to just talk about that.
Yeah, so back from vacation, and it feels like I have this weird feeling. Well, I also was telling Marina that I'm having a weird feeling because I'm pretty sure I doubled up on my blood pressure medication this morning. So that weird feeling aside, because I'm kind of lightheaded, kind of loopy. So if I fuck up, at the very least, articulating myself, let alone facts or anything like that today, blaming on the blood pressure meds. But more so than that, I have this weird feeling of feel like my vacation was too short and too long all at the same time. You know what I mean? Like it feels like I've been gone for a little while now here today. But if I walk away from this computer, I'm going to want to be back on vacation. You know what I mean? So I don't know. There's like a weird mixture of feelings there in terms of like not wanting it to be over, but at the same time, or even wanting to be back in Florida with fucking. Actually, it's kind of nice out today. It doesn't look like it's too bad. A little bit darker than I'd like it, but it's not that bad out
Sunny over
today.
here.
Well, it's kind of sunny. It's sunny-esque, sunny adjacent. It's sunny with a sky full of clouds. Um, but yeah, I felt like we're actually recording on a Sunday, day before we really get back to work here on Monday. But I wanted to kind of get some things out of my head while they're fresh, as it relates to how the vacation went, or some things that just came to my mind as we were going through the process. And really more than anything else, how easy it is to be pretty, I don't want to say good, or to the plan, but relatively consistent with some of the choices that we make when we're on vacation, right? How easy it is to make good decisions there, with just, trying and putting in a little bit of effort. You know what I mean? And that's kind of where we plan on going with the entirety of this cast. Obviously, we'll get into some of the things that I did specifically on vacation, not necessarily related to just being on plan, but some of the things in general. But yeah, I think ultimately the point that I want to kind of try to, make here, the overarching point should be the idea of how easy it is to be able to make some really good decisions as long as you're practicing, the habits, the routines to some extent. Actually, routines wouldn't be a good thing because we're kind of out of our routine, right? But just some of the habits that we consistently
Yeah,
practice
being mindful,
on.
making smart choices. That's it.
Yeah, that's really it, and that's kind of what it comes down to. And I think when you start to think about vacation, I think one of the biggest smart choices that you can make, and this one is kind of like where we can open up a little bit of discussion on it because it resonates heavily after this vacation in terms of where I'm going to go in the future with the way that I approach this. But planning a vacation, especially if you have, it doesn't matter. I was gonna say, especially if you have a family, but it really doesn't matter, right? Because I'm a family of five, we have three kids. But it's really more so, making a decision about where you're staying when you're on vacation, right? I think you know this full well here too recently, where it's like if you plan on going on vacation and you're just going to choose whatever hotel is maybe cheapest or maybe closest to whatever destination or whatever it is, then you're automatically putting yourself in a position where you're going to have to make tougher food choices in a lot of
Mm-hmm.
cases, right? And I'm not saying that you can't make some really good food choices there as well, but at the same time, if you're limited in terms of what you can stock on hand because you don't have a refrigerator, if you're limited to what you can prepare at the day to day because you don't have kitchen, you don't have even a microwave in some cases or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it might be, you're obviously dwindling down your possibilities to be able to make good, reasonable decisions as it relates to food choices while you're on vacation. So again, I think where you stay, to me, is going to be probably the one of the biggest factors.
Yeah.
I literally found myself at a certain point within the trip, and I was telling Marino, I went away with this idea this time that I haven't had a vacation in a long. I only get one a year for the most part, right? Like we'll go away from time to time, but in terms of any type of extended time off, I get one per year, right? And it's been one of those ones where in times past, it just so happens that it's been within certain circumstances, like a very specific off season phase that I'm in. Maybe I just started dieting, or one of the times we went away, I just started doing a mini cut during an off season, and those were times where I opted to be a little bit more strict, right? I opted to be a little bit more particular as far as the meals that I was having on a consistent, regular basis. Whereas this time, I really wanted to take a step back. I wanted to I don't know if I would even use the word enjoy myself. I just wanted to be a little bit more, honestly, lazy, right? I
Yeah.
wanted, I wanted
Like
to be a little bit
not
lazier.
thinking about
That's it. That's it. I just
anything.
didn't want to think about anything.
Yep.
Yeah, and allow things to kind of happen as they come. But I literally got to a point within the trip where it was almost like I had to try to make shittier decisions, even though that's not what it's not, it's not the point that I want to convey here, but I almost had to like try to step out of my way to be in a position because there were some things that I was doing there, and I don't want to go too far off track, so I'm going to bring it back here in a second. There were some things that I was doing there where I was doing it with the intent of saving money. I was doing it with the intent of, having something, within a certain time frame. In other words, I eat more often than the family does in a lot of cases, right? Like we all do. We all eat 4 times a day, 5 times a day, 6 times. When the kids and even Christine to a certain extent, they might only eat, whatever, 2 or 3 times a day in some cases. You know what I mean? Or we'll have breakfast and they're only going to eat 2 times out, like a normal breakfast, lunch, and dinner schedule. So
Mhm.
it was like in some cases, it was like I was almost preparing for things on a level where it didn't have anything to do with my health. It didn't have anything to do with like, the outcome in terms of my physique or anything like that. I was just trying to prepare on a day-to-day basis. And it was almost like that level of preparation was something that I needed to step away from. You know what I mean? To a
Yeah.
certain extent. I think you're pretty locked into a specific process when it's almost like you're unconsciously preparing in a way where it's keeping you on track when that's not even
Oh,
what your
yeah.
goal is at that
Yeah.
particular time, right? But
I know
if we back up a
exactly what you're
little bit,
talking about. Yeah.
yeah. So if we back up a little bit, when we are going away, we want to have a little bit more control because maybe we're going away multiple times per year, or it's just within a particular phase where we want to be a little bit more concentrated with our efforts, a little bit more conscious with our effort. I think the number one thing that we could do is choose where we're staying more effectively. Now, this is something that I think you open up the conversation because we have people that travel for different reasons, right? Like we have people that travel for work, we have people that travel for pleasure, and I think those are going to be sometimes we're traveling for kind of like an in-between scenario, right? Where it's not really work, it's not really pleasure, but maybe, I have a lot of families, right? Or a lot of moms and dads that are traveling because their daughter's in, some sort of a softball league and they have this
Yeah.
championship down in South Carolina or something like that, or a lot of like gymnastics or, this, that, and the third. They're traveling for something along those lines where it's not necessarily work. It's not necessarily full on pleasure though. There's some sort of in between. So regardless of what we're traveling for, though, work would be the one complicated area, especially if you're booking your lodgings, if you would,
Mhm.
through work. Where and I've been there, I've done this through corporate, America, where I had to contact. And to be honest with you, I forget exactly who I had to contact there because I need to get. I maybe it's HR. I don't know who you'd have to contact in that corporate setting to be able to figure out how to get your own, again, I don't know what other word I would use, lodgings, hotel, whatever the fuck, we want to call it here, your own
Mhm.
setup, situated. But again, for me, it was one of those things where I know I just got it approved to be able to be a T&E expense, a travel expense. So I went out and tried to do that very early on when I was traveling a lot, when I worked in a corporate world where it was kind of like, hey, if we're gonna go here, can I go get this hotel and then you guys can reimburse me for whatever it is? And I always got full reimbursement. I would always get a hotel that's relatively close. I would get reimbursed for any type of travel. So back then it was more like I'd have to call a cab as opposed to an Uber or anything like that. But nowadays you can Uber, you can taxi, whatever it is. But I used to get reimbursed for all of that, whether it was I was staying off whatever premise they had everybody set up at, and I would get in a hotel room that then had a kitchen suite. So kitchen suite, is that the right word? That had like kitchen,
A
things that
kitchenette.
had those amenities. Yeah, kitchenette. There you go. That's the word I'm looking for. So it was, through work, there's still an opportunity to get that done. And I think a lot of people within that work setting are kind of like hesitant to do that. And also within those work settings, I think there's a lot of meetings that you're going to have that revolve around breakfast, lunch, and dinner, right? Or specifically lunch and dinner, probably more so than anything else, cocktail hours, stuff like that. But I think in a lot of those cases, we either have to, look at things with a less of a I don't know, people are like scared, people are like worried, people are nervous, whatever verbiage you want to throw on that, about going to one of these meetings and being the person that maybe has Tupperware with them, which might be the extreme side of things, but even more so kind of not being the person that orders a drink at cocktail hour, not being the person that orders a drink at the dinner meeting, right? It's almost like you're the black sheep if you're ordering water, or sometimes you just want to for that social lubrication side of things. And I would say once in a while for that purpose, it's okay to have a drink or two,
Mhm.
but now you really have to be more mindful, in my opinion, about what you're consuming in those cases in terms of understanding what real balance is going to be there. or at least a balanced concept that's going to allow you to get away with things. So again, in that scenario, bring it back to the point that I'm trying to make here. If you're going out for even lunch, right, or lunch and dinner, having a couple cocktails, wouldn't it make sense to be able to go, in a position where it's like, hey, I need to get this kitchenette now. I need to be more mindful of where I'm staying because I need to balance those times out with making sure I have a very kind of respectable lunch, if you would. I mean breakfast, sorry,
Mhm.
or even like midday meal, or have the opportunity to skip this lunch meeting or that lunch meeting, have something that you could do for yourself instead of putting yourself in a position where automatically I have to eat what's available to me
Mhm.
as opposed to providing myself with something at every single meal that you're going away for, right?
Yeah.
So I think the work setting can be something that's a little bit harder to maneuver and get used to. But I also think that you don't get good at anything without practicing and starting to make changes around those travel schedules, because that I think could be the most impactful of everything that we talk about when it comes to traveling and trying to do better as far as our nutrition, our habits and maintaining those habits, et cetera, et cetera. It's going to be kind of almost the pressure of being in a situation that's work related, 24/7 there in those circumstances, and being able to make choices that are still for ourselves and not
Mhm.
necessarily for the betterment of the job or whatever it is in that particular, which I think those things go hand in hand sometimes, right? Like if I'm making decisions to be the best of myself, I'm also making decisions that are going to make me best within those circumstances, right? Even though they're not directly correlated in the moment. Waking up and getting steps, right? It's
Mhm.
something that's going to allow me to kind of wake up, have a fresher mind, be able to attack the day a little bit better. But doing those steps doesn't directly better any situation that has to do with work, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you're
Yeah,
saying.
you sure? You look more tired than I do today.
I'm pretty tired, but yeah, no, I think that like the work situation is probably the more difficult one that will require even more effort and preparation. But like if it's just a vacation with your family, or again, like you're traveling like a weekend for whatever reason, I think it's pretty, I don't want to say easy, but it's it shouldn't take too much second guessing and thoughts to kind of stick to the habits that you've already built. You're just doing it in a different place, in a different setting.
Well, it is hard if you don't have. That's why lodging to me is the point to make
Exactly.
right
So
now.
like,
Yeah,
but if you're at an
because if you're in a
Airbnb and you just kind of do the same things that you normally do, or you go food shopping to fill up your Airbnb kitchen or whatever, right when you get there, or you bring your food. I usually bring my protein frozen. It can go on a checked bag, it can go on a carry-on. TSA doesn't even look twice. And then when I get there, I'll get my other little fixings. I'll make rice when I get there. I have rice cakes, easy stuff. Fruits, veggies, I'll go food shopping.
we'll
But
definitely let's talk about all these things individually. I think honestly, I think
yeah,
right now the point, because I have interesting points about that too, as far as the actual travel day. I think is a big misstep for a lot
yeah,
of people
yeah,
that we could talk. And yeah, I know we've been there. We've talked about that plenty. But as far as the lodgings are concerned, I think the one thing I would say as far as kind of opening this up to like the experience that I had is Airbnb is starting to drive me fucking nuts. Like I
why?
fucking hate. And maybe it's just because we're going to a place in Florida where I could only imagine there's probably no other place in America, right? And I mean that sincerely. Like somebody'd have to like, wake me up with an idea of where something, could like this could take place as much as it does in this central area of Florida, right? Where it's like Orlando, Kissimmee, St. Cloud, Lake Buena Vista. So like this is the area that Disney is in, right? Like think about the opportunities there. You're in Florida where it's more, it's a lot cheaper from a real estate perspective, than at least we are here in New Jersey, right? But it's even cheaper when you're talking about buying things like a condominium, like an apartment, or like some sort of small square footage living concept there, right? So what happened, I think, there over the course of this Airbnb explosion is that so many people have gone in to purchase these types of things and then rent them out to all the Disney vacationers. Think on it's a family type of event. You know what I mean? So, like, as a family, do you want to spend whatever X amount of money on 3 hotel rooms to be able to lodge your entire family? Or is it easier to just get a 5 bedroom house, right? So it's like, or 5 bedroom, whatever, townhouse or whatever it might be in these places, right? So I think more so than anywhere else, and this might be where I'm a little jaded because
Mhm.
this is what we experience as far as vacation is concerned for us going to Disney every year, right? Is we have a downward trend, right? Where it's like when we first started getting Airbnbs there, it was like the Airbnb was whatever, $100 a night, $150 a night. And it was awesome. It was great. Like you're talking a nice, like 5, 6 bedroom house for us. And like the pool was perfect. Like everything was awesome. They'd heat the pool for you. You'd have access to a grill while you're there, all this different stuff. Right. And everything was like beautiful, well maintained and taken
You
care
had
of.
everything
And
that
then
you
it was like,
needed.
yeah, and then yeah, everything. So like whatever, like even shit that people don't think about. Like we had plenty of toilet paper, paper towels, like plates, and kitchen food items that were there, from previous guests and shit like that. Like there'd be salt and pepper there, and yada yada yada. Right now, what's happened is all these companies have come. Right, like we stayed at a place that was owned and managed or managed by uh whatever master vacation club or something like that was the name of the right. So it's essentially this thing where these guys manage all these properties, so you as the Airbnb owner can sign up for this company to manage your property, take a percentage of your earnings on Airbnb, right? And they manage everything for you, and they manage it in a way where it's going to give you the most return for your money, right?
Hmm.
So there's a whole bunch of these management companies now throughout Airbnb, and this is why a lot of places like New York City, Miami are passing laws that kind of ban, for lack of better verbiage, or make it impossible
Short-term
to have a successful
rentals.
Airbnb. Yeah, so it's one of those things where it's like now we're starting to see it where it went from these beautiful Airbnbs and everything. There's still a beautiful place. We stayed in the I think it's a six bedroom, 5 bathroom house, right? That we rented, right? So the house itself was huge. It was nice, but it had like bare minimum of everything. Like there literally was like
I'm glad that you
rolls
mentioned
of
that
toilet
because
paper.
this is like off. This is like totally off what we're talking about. But my dad has a condo in Puerto Rico, and well, my parents, they stay there every month when they go, and they, open up like 2 weeks during each month when they're not going on Verbo so that people can go stay. But like my
Yep.
dad is huge with actually providing a good vacation spot, like our place, well, their place, not my place, but their place is like beachfront. It's in this gorgeous like building, and whatever, but he makes sure that like everything is stocked up at all times, like the toilet paper, everything. The kitchen is fully equipped, obviously, also because I go there, so we've gotten a lot of stuff, and they stay there a lot, but everything is fully equipped. Lots of toilet paper, paper towels, chairs for the beach. He even like sets up like a little area where you can dust off the sand and everything. He leaves out spare flip flops. He goes to like everything to be able to provide a good place for people, because
Yeah.
it's his biggest pet peeve when he goes traveling somewhere and there's nothing there. Like you're not
It's so annoying.
it's just a bed. It's just a bed. Maybe sometimes
Yeah.
the bed isn't even made. Like it's
Yeah.
ridiculous. So that is so off on a tangent, but like he's so anal about that. And then the cleaning lady coming in between, making sure, like, did you restock this and that? Did you do that? So like,
Yeah.
I totally get it.
Yeah, I think it's a valid point to make, though, just because it's one of those things where it might affect the way that somebody chooses to spend their money. Because I think for me, honestly, at this point, it's every time we go somewhere now, I have to think like, should I actually do an Airbnb, or is it just going to piss me off all these little things? Or should I try to look for a hotel that has a kitchenette and spend the extra money to be satisfied? Because I'll be honest, I literally, there was a point where I was booking that Airbnb where I was looking at all, because there's so many options there. It's almost like you get anxiety thinking about
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, which one to pick, like what's the right one, yada yada yada. But it was one of those scenarios where I chose one that was more expensive, right? And I don't want to sound like a douchebag or like an arrogant retard. Like you chose one. I have in my mind. There's always that thought process of like you pay for what you get. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if I'm going on vacation, I'm not going to pick the place that's $1,000 to stay for 5 days or whatever it was, 5 nights, 6 days, whatever it was. I'm not going to choose a place that's $1,000 because in my mind, right? And again, no disrespect to anybody that is going to go choose that. I'm just saying in my mind, it's like I don't want to wake up on a certain day and like not have like I don't know. I don't want to spend money on a
It's no, it's
vacation
seriously, the
and not
little things do matter.
and they add up too. They add
Yeah.
up. Like I want to make sure I have AC when I'm in Florida. I want to make little things like that. So it's one of those things where I purposely chose like the more expensive option there and chose one of the most expensive options within the area that we were trying to stay, right? That was like relatively close to the park,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I spent almost double what I think was the most common price tag there. And we still ended up in this situation where it was like, again, air conditioning could only go down to 73 degrees. Like, dude, who the fuck do I look like to you? 73 degrees? Like, come on, man. Like we had a game room that had like a pool table, a foosball table, and I specifically chose a house with that because the kids love that. We've gotten Airbnbs that have that before. They love playing pool, they love playing foosball. It was in the garage, which they don't tell you, right? So the garage is not, it has no AC or anything. So it was literally, even on the days when it was beautiful out, it was like 100 degrees and humid in the garage at all times. We went in there one morning for like 20 minutes. I took a picture and actually posted it on the stories. But we couldn't even use that room. So, and again, I'm kind of going off on my own tangent now. There was a lot of different things that I didn't like about the Airbnb. But again, I think when it comes down to it, the point that we're trying to convey here, and the point that I'm trying to make here is I think the number one thing that you could do about having a better travel experience as it relates to your end goals when it comes to your physique, your health, all these different things that we're trying to manage is going to be picking the right place to stay. And I think that there could be an argument there, at least from my side of my perspective, now where it's like there's plenty of opportunity to be able to find a hotel or even a resort or whatever it might be that has has these amenities. Is it going to be more expensive? Yeah, that's what drove me to Airbnbs to begin with. 100% it's going to be more expensive. The Airbnb that we're staying at, that costs whatever, $200 a night. The same thing with less overall space and whatnot might cost $300 a night, but at the end of the day, I'm probably going to have a cleaner experience. This Airbnb, actually, you weren't supposed to use like any of the cleaning amenities, so you weren't supposed to use like the washer dryer that they have in there, right? Like they didn't even provide you anything to use the washer and dryer, but they basically had a sign that said like, if you need a mid-visit cleaning, you have to contact us. We'll send a cleaner, but it's also an additional charge of some sort, right? Everything at this point at these Airbnbs is an additional charge. Like if you want to heat the pool, you have to give a 48-hour notice, right? And that's like heating the pool is like a $45 a day charge. So $45 a day literally added onto your price per day to be able to heat the pool that you're staying
I've
in,
never heard that.
right?
It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it's well, every one of them had it. That wasn't something that they had originally. I don't think. I don't remember. I'd have to ask Christine. She would know better than I would. But at the end of the day, if it was probably like $10, $15. Now I think it's $45 to use the grill that they have outside. They literally put a bicycle lock on the grill. Yeah, so in order to use the grill, I looked it up. It's $35 to use the grill. $35. So it's like
Ridiculous.
at the end of the day, yeah, the cost is going to end up in the same realm as if you just went to one of these hotels,
Yeah.
right? And
And
ended up
just
staying, and
paid
you'd
for the
have,
suite. Yeah.
yeah, but you also get daily cleaning. Like we
Mhm.
got literally, this is a 5 bathroom house, okay, 6 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms. And again, Christine might be able to tell us better, but I could only count like whatever we had, like 6 or 7 towels, like actual towels, right? So there's a pool, there's a hot tub, right? There's 5 bathrooms, and somehow for this house, they only had like 6 or 7 towels. Like, dude, they honestly
And
forget
then you
everything
can't
else.
use the washer and dryer.
Yeah. So forget everything else. I'd rather stay at a hotel and spend the extra money on the hotel, right? Just because I want fucking fresh linens every day. Like, is that too much to fucking ask on? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
again, a personal tangent there. I'm mad at my Airbnb. I was literally fighting with them. This is how much these people like probably get this. Within the first probably few hours of our trip, I'm messaging them like, dude, you guys didn't say shit about this on your ads. You didn't say shit about any of this stuff. I'm fucking pissed. I'm livid. It's 78 degrees when we get in there. And I'm thinking it's so hot and humid in this disgusting Airbnb. Like, I'm going to have to live like this. The temperature ultimately dropped and I was fine. It calmed down a little bit. But I'm like messaging this guy back and forth on the Airbnb app. And he's like, listen, dude, within the first few like messages back and forth, he's like, you can stay tonight if you want, find other booking for your family, find other lodgings or whatever for your family, and we'll refund you every night that you didn't stay there. I'm like, that just goes to show to me like how easily these people will fold is probably how many times they end up with a situation. And for Airbnb, it's all about the reviews, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like they probably just want to make sure that they secure a good review for them and they don't want to end up with any, so they're
Did
able
you
to
leave a
like just
bad review
refund
at
things like that.
least?
I didn't yet. I'm going to, but they still have, I can't take my billing information off until they charge me. So for any extras or any services that they accrued. I'm sure they're going to charge me more. I guarantee they're going to charge me
Yeah.
more because I was battling with these motherfuckers. I contacted Airbnb the whole nine. But anyway, after one day of this, I was like, you know what, dude, I'm not doing this anymore on my vacation. I'm like, I don't care. I don't want to deal with any of it. We're just going to enjoy vacation and forget about it. But again, the point behind the whole thing was, my experience this time at I've always used Airbnbs. I've always talked to clients about Airbnbs or Verbo, whatever it is. But this experience almost led me down a path where it's like, I understand people don't like kitchenettes sometimes. I don't anyway, because there is a bigger mess in the hotel room. It's kind of like, you cook in a hotel room, the entire thing stinks, for the first few hours, whatever, right? Like there's definitely some drawbacks to being in a hotel with a kitchenette. But at the same time, again, I would take those drawbacks to be in a position where I could save money if you want to look at it from that perspective.
Yeah.
I could be healthier, right? I have more variety, I have more access, right? Period. And I'd rather have access or the things that I want and need on in an easy, accessible way when I'm on vacation than be put in a situation where it's like I'm staying at this beautiful resort and it might be all inclusive, might have all these things, yada yada yada. That's great, but at the same time, I'm sitting in this fucking 250 square foot hotel room that has no refrigerator, no microwave, and I'm kind of like without anything. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like I don't know. That to me isn't very satisfying or is it very vacationy, if you would,
I
right?
agree.
And then I think the next thing to talk about is the actual traveling because I see a
Mhm.
lot of people that fuck up on the actual travel days. And we had a bitch of a travel situation this time because of the way that my personal, sitch unfolded right around travel. So obviously, and a lot of the members and clients know that are listening to this that we had our ECC party literally the night before we left. This is my fault for booking in this way, but nonetheless, we had it the night before we left. So we were out until what, like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, something like
Yeah,
that.
something like
I think
that.
like 10:30.
Like
Yeah.
10:30, yeah.
So yeah, something like that. We had a couple drinks, right? And then I had to be up. We had a flight at 6 a.m. the next morning, right? So literally the Friday during the day was all about like me, like I had to get my hair cut, getting ready to leave and packing and everything because that night obviously I was getting ready to go to this party at the same time, right? And again, we're not just getting ready for ourselves. I had to get Bubba ready, myself ready, and then Christine gets Christine and the baby ready. But then I have to make sure that Christine is getting ready. Baby, you listening? She can hear because Christine is the type where it's like if we don't get her ready on top of her getting herself ready, we'll ultimately be 3 hours late to anywhere we go anyway. So it's kind of like it's trying to get all that done Friday until I get home from the party. Then literally getting home from the party at 10:30 it was about filling up the car and basically be in a position where all we have to do is wake up the kids and go. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, that being said, we didn't cook shit to bring on travel day. And that's usually the biggest tip that I can give people for travel day is have your food prepared and ready to go. Because again, look at this from all angles, right? People could easily be like, well, I don't want to do that because of this, that, and the third. I want to be able to enjoy myself. Yeah. Okay. How much is enjoying yourself in an airport going to cost you?
Yeah.
Like,
Ew. The
yeah,
fucking food there's disgusting.
yeah, not only is it all disgusting, even like sometimes like you'll see like the brand name stuff that's in an airport, like whatever, even like a Wendy's, like Terminal A is where we were at, I think, for Newark Airport. It's like a new terminal that they have that they just
Yeah.
built. And in that new terminal, they have places like Mike Subs, Starbucks, all this different shit. But like you go there and at any time of the day that we've been there now so far, because we've actually been out of that terminal, I think 2 or 3 times now. Everything is fucking packed, right? At any time, including at 6 a.m. The fucking everything's packed. So now it's like, do you want to wait in that line for Wendy's just to get Wendy's? Do you want to wait in that line for Mike Subs just to get Mike Subs? Because again, all the rest of this shit is like food court shit from the fucking mall. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like
Yeah.
food court, like Chinese
And
food
it's
or
expensive
like
as fuck.
oh yeah, everything there is expensive. Everything there is expensive. So it's not even a matter. I think everybody knows that. Like between the airport food and like eating in some of these places that we're going for vacation, it's always going to be jacked up as far as
Hmm.
pricing goes. But again, it's like who wants that on like we're going to waste money on our vacation in an airport on airport food. Like dude, pack food if anything just for the convenience of
Yeah.
being able to save money. Right, have something that you actually enjoy instead of this shit food right?
And that you can just eat when you're hungry, as opposed to like, let me go looking, finding something. I don't really want
before I
that.
get on this flight. Yeah,
Yeah.
and on top of all that, like the last thing I want to be doing is sitting next to people on a plane where you're fucking all tucked in there like sardines at a certain point and have like gas or have my stomach hurting or what. Yeah, seriously, like that's got to be the worst thing in the world. Um, so for me, it's like one of the big things for me is making sure that we're prepared and ready to go on travel day because I see a lot of people rationalize away an opportunity there because they don't want to bring a cooler. I have this little 6-pack cooler that I've shown on Instagram a couple of times, and it's probably like 6-pack coolers used to be expensive, but now if we looked on Amazon, this thing's probably like 20-30 bucks, and it's like
Yeah.
just this little one that fits 3 little meals, right? 2 ice packs in there but like a perfect size to just be able to put over my shoulder. And I always travel with my backpack. So as a carry-on bag, and I
Hmm.
always have this. This fits under any airplane seat that I've been on, right? So it's very convenient, very easy to maintain. And then, like I said, you have 3 meals ready to go. So even on a day that I'm traveling to Florida, where it's only a couple hours there as far as the flight is concerned, if I'm leaving my house, whatever it is, 2 hours or so before the flight to be able to get there, I have food that's going to last me, all the way through until you had brought up, even making it a point when you land. One of the first things that you should do, especially if you already have sufficient lodgings, go to the grocery store. Like, go to the grocery store on the way to your hotel or your
Hmm.
Airbnb. Make a quick stop. Pack up what get the essentials. You know what I mean? Just so that you have things ready to go that you can use when it's going to be applicable, right? Or when it's going to be, that time within your vacation that you're ready to prepare yourself something. Have that stuff there ready to go. But again, it's one of those things where up until you get to that point, because a lot of check-in times, what, 3, 4, 5 p.m.,
Hmm.
right? Now I have food for that entire day, 3 meals. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? Ready to
Yeah,
go.
and like not just packing a meal for at the airport or just for on the airplane, packing an extra one for when you get there because you're going to be hungry too. Like
Yeah.
I've done that plenty of times traveling to Puerto Rico. Like one of the first times I traveled with food, once I got there, the kitchen was bare. I had eaten my 2 meals already when I got to the airport and then on the plane like an hour out from landing because it's like more like a 4 hour flight. So I was like hungry, whatever. I brought 2 meals. I got there, didn't have anything, and I was like, fuck, like now I'm starving. Then I had to beg my dad to drag me to the grocery store so that I could cook and whatever. And then like I was starving by the time I made my last meal. So always thinking ahead, okay, I want to have another meal for when I get there because I'm not gonna have anything there. Then the other thing is when you're leaving too because just recently when I went to Florida, um I guess I miscalculated how much protein I needed. So the morning of when I was leaving, I literally finished everything out. That was my last meal, was exactly what I needed for my last meal, but then I had nothing to bring onto the plane. Thankfully, it was a quick flight. I got there. I think I got one of the stupid, disgusting hard-boiled eggs at the airport, the little packaged ones.
I love those
Actually,
fucking things.
they were good. They
Yeah.
were pasture raised eggs. It was
Where are they?
the Vital Farms
Yeah,
ones. I
Vital
got
Farms.
those and I
Yeah.
was like, you know what, perfect, good. I had those on the plane. But yeah, I kind of miscalculated, or I could have done another groceries trip or something to have something at the airport, but it is what it is. But just thinking ahead of like, okay, just in case if I don't have food at this point, like let me bring extra.
Well, you just jumped ahead on my next one too, which is
Mm-hmm.
like making smart choices that are convenient, and we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, I think that's the big point too here is like making sure that you're prepared throughout the trip and not kind of getting lazy to a certain point just because we're coming home or whatever the scenario might be there, in terms of somebody's thinking and kind of letting their guard down for that trip home.
Yeah,
It's
letting the
almost like,
guard down is a
yeah,
huge thing. Like letting guard down
yeah.
is a huge thing that I noticed. First thing I like realized it or learned that that's what was happening was when I was at school in Maryland. Every time I would drive home, the 3 hour drive, this was like at the beginning of me working with you. I'd come home and then I'd be like starving and I'd want to eat everything that was in the kitchen and I'd start picking and grazing. I'm like, why am I doing this right now? And it's just like letting your guard down after traveling, that feeling of like,
Mhm.
okay, I made it, like, and you kind of just like you loosen up, which is like, yeah, that is what vacation is for, and that is what traveling is for, but not like allowing yourself, not even allowing, like being able to still control your immediate food environment is what is like ultimately the most important.
Yeah, you're putting yourself at a certain point, you're putting yourself in a shittier position to be able to make good choices, is really what it comes down to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, and I think that's the best way of looking at it too, where it's like it clearly resonates with you when I say like letting your guard down, because again, when you've been there over and over and over again, you kind of get to that point where it's like, yeah, that's kind of what's happening. Like everything is kind of like we're like coming home from vacation. It's almost like this deflation process where
Yeah.
it's like I'm kind of like deflated, and it's like, we were on such a high there for a little while, kind of enjoying ourselves and like all this. And now it's kind of like back to the real world. But it's almost like again, if you're practicing all these good habits this entire time, like I'm not going to let off the gas pedal just because I'm flying home now, or you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
that's, if anything, that's what we're doing it for, to maintain that so that we have that kind of consistent structure at all times, right? Or some sort of structure at all times, right? So again, I think, flying is a big part there, because again, trying to eat, even like piece things together in an airport, because I did this recently where the last time we traveled, it was just me, June, and Christine. I did, as per usual, I always have something prepared and ready to go. I left the fucking 6-pack bag in the trunk. I left it in the trunk. So all the food that I had prepared, I actually packed more food in my checked bag, because we were going to be staying in a hotel that didn't have any opportunity. June wanted to stay at this hotel that was like mermaid theme. So it was literally the Little Mermaid
I
theme,
want to
right? Yeah, but
stay there.
it actually sucked. It was like the worst room that we've ever stayed in. It was so
Oh, oh.
small, and yeah, it was awful. But anyway, bottom line is I had food packed, so I was good when I got there. But on that trip, it was awful because I had to stop at the place in the airport. I got beef jerky, which is actually pretty good. It was habanero flavored. But anyway, I got beef jerky, I got like a protein bar, and I got like a water. And I remember it literally was like $27 for all that. Yeah,
$14?
it was almost like seared in my brain, because like I didn't want, but because I knew going back this time there was going to be some situation that would pop up because we didn't have the food, right? And I forget what we had. I know they all got, crazy shit. We spent $60 on breakfast sandwiches, like egg and cheese sandwiches. And for some reason, Christine and my daughter Becky thought it was a good idea to get fucking Caesar salads at 6 a.m. to go
Oh.
with their egg and cheese sandwiches. Yeah, so the
And
Caesar
those things are
salads,
like
the
15
bacon.
bucks.
Oh yeah, and they're like this big, right?
Yeah.
So we spent like $60 on that. I just got coffee from Starbucks, and I don't remember if I had anything. I honestly don't remember. Um, I think I was so jacked up on fucking stimulants that I probably wasn't even thinking about eating at the time. And I was just running on pure adrenaline. Plus, we had the drinks the night before. So it was probably, I don't remember if I had anything at all, to be honest. But nonetheless, the bottom line there is I would rather be prepared than spend $30 on beef jerky. You know what I mean? At an airport. And then I think, to follow up on that, the idea of being able to be in the most convenient situations, right? Nowadays, it's very, very like, in the scenario that you're in, where you're getting hard boiled eggs because you forgot your food, like it is a very, very easy thing. And you're just, essentially, I don't know what word I want to use. You're being complicit. You're being like, um, lazy, honestly, with the idea, or making excuses for yourself with the idea where it's like, well, I don't have anything healthy, so I'm just gonna have
Yeah.
McDonald's, or I'm gonna make
Yeah.
whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Like, no,
And
there
again,
are
if the scenario,
options.
yeah, and if the scenario arises, we went to McDonald's this time around, right? I did eat myself a fucking spicy McChicken sandwich and a quarter pounder with cheese, and it was fucking delicious, by the way. But the bottom line is like, if whatever, if that scenario plays out, fine. But I'm not going to make up an excuse for myself that I can't do X, Y, and
Yeah.
Z, so I have to do this. Go to fucking 7-Eleven, which exists anywhere on this fucking earth, let alone in America, every corner, right? And you can get yourself a protein shake. You can get yourself a protein bar if you really have to.
Hmm.
But I'm not a big fan of the protein bars. They fuck up everybody's stomach,
Yeah.
both short term and long term. But you can get yourself a protein shake pretty easily. Like you can get yourself there's muscle milk, there's the
Hmm.
core power, or whatever the fuck it's
Over,
called. Like
yeah.
there's perfectly suitable protein shakes that range from 25 all the way up to 50 grams of protein that you can find easily now at these gas stations. There are protein bars once in a while.
Hmm.
There are some pretty decent protein bars too. I like one called Builder Bar, by the same people that make Cliff Bars. Cliff
Oh,
Bar makes a,
really?
a protein. It's called a Builder Bar, and they come in mint chocolate, which I know a lot of people don't like mint chocolate. I personally do. It comes in mint chocolate, chocolate peanut butter, like a vanilla almond, right? So the cookies and cream. So they have a decent array of different flavors. Yeah, and that one's actually pretty good. It's not that bad. From an ingredient perspective or on your stomach. The only problem is it's a little bit higher in calories. 30 grams of carbs, 8 grams of fat, 20 grams of protein. But again, in a pinch, it gets the job done,
Yeah.
right? Again, I would opt for a protein shake. And now the other thing that all these places have available is all of them have that little cold area where you can find, hard boiled eggs to
Hmm.
potentially go with your shake. Right. And maybe you're getting a 25 gram maybe you're getting a 45-gram protein shake. And it's kind of like, do I need the added protein? Well, yeah, the idea is to stay satiated once you get to a certain threshold within protein consumption,
Yeah.
right? But we can still err on the side of caution, go with the protein and fat content instead of adding in. What are you going to add in from a carbohydrate perspective at some of these grocery stores, right? So sometimes we got to work with what we got. Having a couple hard boiled eggs and a protein shake might not sound like the most appealing thing, but hey, like we just said, I kind of look forward to those hard boiled eggs. I like a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. They usually come
Oh,
with those
yeah.
packets,
With the little
right?
package.
And a lot of,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you can hammer away on the salt and pepper there. And then like I said, a quick protein shake, and at least that's going to satiate you so
Hmm.
that you have what you need from an energy perspective. You have what you need from a satiety perspective, and you kind of move on there without making really shitty decisions. There's also fruit that's always available in these
Always
scenarios.
fruit,
So
yeah.
yeah, the string cheeses, it seems like, there's always a
Or they
string
even
cheese
make like the
available.
little packets. I mean, they're called like the protein pack, and it'll be like cheese and like almond
Yeah,
and
yeah.
eggs, like hard boiled eggs,
Uh-huh.
which isn't too bad. And like obviously fruit in there too.
Yeah, and this is actually going to lead us into another point that I want to make. But the bottom line is like you have these options, and I think in a lot of cases, you trying to justify to yourself eating shittier because you feel like you don't have X, Y, and Z available is all that is. It's a justification. It's just an excuse.
Hmm.
It's just something that you're conjuring up in your brain to give you the kind of security going to make this shitty decision, right? Which is like, dude, there's plenty of options there. It's available. And I know it might be one of those scenarios where it's like, well, but I do have kids when I'm traveling. I do have this, that, and the third when I'm traveling. That's fine. Again, I can take my kids just about anywhere. My kids want Chick-fil-A. They want fucking, whatever it is. And I know everybody else is tuning in. People might come back with the idea that's like, well, I want my kids to eat healthier. Okay, fine. But again, all I'm saying is there's an opportunity for you here to make a really good, quick, easy, and convenient scenario decision. And if the scenario is about quick, easy, and convenient overall, then again, your kids are probably choosing an option there too. So again, I can take the kids to Chick-fil-A, have them get whatever they want, and then I can go next door to the convenience store and get myself the protein shake, the hard-boiled eggs,
Hmm.
and maybe an apple or something like that to
Yeah.
have what I want, right? So there's always opportunity for that. And then I would say one of the last things that I can think of off the top of my head right now, even though I feel like I had so much more to talk about, is going to be the reality of being on vacation and understanding, right, and being able to hold yourself accountable to the idea of like, hey, better choices, smart choices, right? We don't need to look at it from the perspective of because you just brought up like the meat and cheese platter, essentially, right?
Hmm.
That's kind of got like, or the protein platter, whatever you want to call it, the way they market it and sell it. But if you look at one of those, right, it's probably got like that hard salami, that fucking gross, nasty shit that people like you eat. Oh, you love that stuff. We've
No,
had this
I
conversation
don't
before.
like that. Well,
Oh, salami's gross.
not when it's like in the package. If it's on a charcuterie board, I'll eat that shit
Ew.
up. But if it's like in the
Oh
package,
yeah.
it's like ugh.
Charcuterie board now makes it okay. So
No,
in Marina's world,
charcuterie board is everything.
oh, salami is gross no matter where you get it. I
A
don't
little
care
bit
if
of
you get it
dried
from fucking,
fruit, crackers.
oh, gross.
Mm.
Jesus Christ could serve me that with a little bit of fruit and I'm still not eating it. Anyway, if you look at the back of one of those packages, right? The nuts, the salami, the hard boiled egg, cheese, whatever's
It's
in
all
one
gonna
of
be
those, you
fat.
yeah, you flip that over. People are looking at it like, well, this is 15 grams of fat. Understood. I get it. Right. But like, again, I would say put the macros and the calories and everything to the side here for a second and say, how can we make the best decisions possible at each one of these feedings that we're going to have
Mhm.
while we're away? And if we look at things under that simplistic concept or guidelines, it's going to make the process so much easier for you to stick to. It's not about hitting your macros. It's
Yeah.
not about eating to your meal plan. Those things go out the window the minute we decide to go on vacation. That's kind of the nice thing about this, right? Where it's like, hey, we're telling you to be a little bit more controlled, to be a little bit more accountable, to make some good decisions, right? But at the same time, enjoy yourself. How do those things go hand in hand? By just looking at it from the perspective of, hey, I'm an adult. I want to make good decisions for myself, both here, now, and in the long term. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to eat with my family at this particular place. Well, how do I do that? It's make the best fucking decision possible. It's
Yeah.
not that hard. It's not
It's
that hard. Like
exactly.
honestly, yeah, if you're going to eat somewhere where it's like, it could be as simple as saying, like Christine, we she got fajitas last night, right? We ordered in when we got home from Mexi Tacos or whatever it is. It's like, I don't know, some little Mexican place around here. Fucking banging, actually. Delicious.
The
But it's
little
like,
Mexican places are always good around here.
yeah, well, it was one of those ones where it was like, the meal came and it was like fucking 16 pounds, right? With
Yep.
like rice, refried beans, like all this,
Just
like you could
dumping it.
easily, yeah, but and then it came with corn tortillas, dude. That was literally just essentially what it came back to was like shredded lettuce, tomatoes, cilantro, which she hates cilantro, chicken, beans, right? And then it was like, everything else was kind of like the additives, where it was like sour cream, cheese, guacamole, like all this other shit. You could have honestly made that meal relatively decent for yourself, right? Where it's just essentially rice, corn tortillas, chicken, and beans. I know we want
Mhm.
to complicate things, but what is it cooked in? All this again,
Yeah.
shut up with the details. You're on
Yeah.
vacation, right? You can make the decision though to be able to get these
You
fajitas,
can
just
make
as
it
a
a
quick
little better.
example.
Yeah.
Yeah, by opting to not have the sour cream, not having the guacamole, not
Yeah.
having the cheese. You know what I mean? And I know a lot of people are gonna
Mhm.
fire back like, but I like that stuff. Hey, I understand that. Again, perspective and context here, right? In the context that I'm on vacation and I'm probably going to pile up with a lot of these extras, right, throughout the course of my trip. Do I need the extras right now? And is this meal still going to be relatively enjoyable with just some sauce up on it, right? Or
Exactly.
just some hot sauce or however it is that you like it without the fatty condiments or extras, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, you so again, it's not necessarily about oh, but this dish is huge. This dish is this. It's probably all these calories from this, that, and third. Listen, just make a little bit of an arrangement here, so to speak, where you're making the best decisions for yourself as far as that particular meal is concerned, right? Make a little bit of a concession is probably a better word, not an arrangement, right? On this meal that you really want to be able to make it something that is a little bit more health conscious or a little bit more conscious, period, right? In terms of your
Hmm.
eating habits there. And you can literally apply that anywhere you go. If I wanted to at McDonald's, I could easily get a grilled chicken sandwich, right? With no mayo on it and replace the mayo with whatever, barbecue sauce, or I don't know, their barbecue sauce might not be good either, but barbecue sauce, honey mustard, like they have so many different you can easily find something and ask for it on the side and put it on a little bit more sparingly instead of mayo, right? And be in a much better position where you're just having a grilled chicken sandwich and now a side salad. Does McDonald's still have salads?
I have
I
no
don't know if they
idea.
do or not, but I'm sure you can get yeah, I'm sure you can get a side salad. If not, honestly, if it were me, I would just opt for two chicken sandwiches instead of French fries if I'm trying in that scenario, right? And now
Mhm.
it's like I'm still with my family. I'm not kind of like adding any negative concepts or putting everything in this negative mindset where it's like, oh, I'm eating at McDonald's, I'm eating at this place, I'm eating at that place, like this is all going to be shit food. It's like, well, I know that going into it. I don't need to verbalize that. I don't need to bring anybody else's experience down. I don't need to
Mhm.
bring this experience down for myself anymore. What is the best decision I can make within these circumstances? And if I do my best within this circumstance genuinely, right, and honestly, then at the end of the day, you're going to come home and you're going to be in a position where you've maybe even lost weight on a vacation like fucking Disney because I got 30,000 steps every goddamn day. But even if you're on just the best vacation where you're going to relax, enjoy yourself, and just be in a really like lazy mindset because that's what vacation's for sometimes. If you're going to make the best decisions for yourself over and over and over again, then you're going to come back with the least amount of damage when it comes to scale weight. You know what I mean? The least amount of
Exactly.
damage as it relates to, the way that your body looks, feels, and operates. You know what I mean? The least amount of damage to your stomach, right? When you come back in terms of the way that your digestion's working. So, sometimes it just really comes down to that and understanding that it's like, we end up with the fuck it all scenario, right? And everybody that's been a
Hmm.
client for a long time has heard me use this fuck it all thing, right? Where it's like you end up with one thing out of your favor as it relates to the way that you consistently do things, and you end up with the fuck it
You
all
get one
mentality.
flat tire, so you slash all the other three.
Exactly, exactly. That's the way people do things, man. And it's
Hmm.
kind of like, well, I can't eat well here, so now it's like boom out the window. And it's
Yeah.
like, no, no, no.
You
You
can
can do so much
still.
more than that for yourself. Yeah, like eating being 70% the plan when you're away. I don't even want to call it that. Just making conscious decisions when you're away. If
Being
all that
mindful and
equated
extra,
to
that extra thought. That's it.
yeah, if all that equated to whatever 65 to 75% quote unquote to plan, right? Where it was like I'm kind of eating within my guidelines as far as calories are concerned. Forget about macros.
Hmm.
But if you making conscious decisions equaled up to being within 65 to 75% to the caloric intake that you should have, right? By the time that you come back, nobody's telling you to do that math. I'm just saying if
Yeah.
it equals that, right? You're going to be in a situation where you've gained, whatever. And I'm just arbitrarily or hypothetically throwing out numbers, but let's say you gained whatever 4 pounds. I'm okay with that on a 7-day vacation.
Hmm.
Perfectly fine with you doing that as a client, with me doing that as the individual itself, right? Where things get out of hand. And this happens all the time with people that are
Hmm.
going on vacation. I see it literally all the fucking time throughout the course of the year where people come back and they're 10 pounds up, 8 pounds up, 13 pounds up. I've had male clients go away and come back within like a 4-day vacation and come back 13 to 15 pounds heavier. Right? I can think of somebody right off the top of my head that I could blow up right now, but I'm not going to do it. He's done it
Hmm.
multiple times. But at the same, it's true. It's going to happen if you go away with this concept or this mindset of well, I'm on vacation, so everything's an excuse and a justification, right? I can do this. I can enjoy myself here. You can enjoy yourself, but I don't want to give people the idea that every time they go out to eat, they have to order grilled chicken sandwiches.
Yeah.
But at the same time, again, balance is always part of our equation here. We're talking about living the healthiest lifestyle, being able to kind of enjoy ourselves multiple times a year on family vacations and trips and still kind of be able to get away with it if you would,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's just going to come back to that self accountability, making good decisions, and putting yourself in the perfect scenario to where it's like, hey, again, for me, it was almost like I had to think about it at a certain point where it's like, I'm so kind of reserved within those scenarios sometimes, right? Where it's like, and honestly, even this time around, like I would rather honestly drink, right? Well, I'm not a big drinker. Everybody knows me, knows I'm not a big drinker. I made the decision this time around that I was gonna, have a few drinks and kind of enjoy myself. And I did that almost every day that we were out and about. And literally it almost got to a point where it's kind of like, do I want to eat this big giant meal or would I rather have a drink or two? And for me, honestly, I'd rather just have the drink or two. I'm not saying I didn't want food or I couldn't eat food or whatever. It was just, again, I'd rather have a drink or two, keep things moving, enjoy ourselves, have fun, and then I'll eat later on. And eating later on just turned into like what was like, easy convenience, already a meal that we had made. You know what I mean? And it was just being able, or it was something kind of light and kind of something that just keeps things moving, right? So it was one of those scenarios where, again, for me, I think I've built almost this without trying, almost this scenario where when I'm in these settings where all this food is available, it's like I don't get caught up in it anymore. It used to be the trip was about this, right?
Hmm.
Actually, this is a pretty good thing. I don't know how much time do you think we have left right now. How long have we been recording for?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay,
Probably
fantastic.
40 minutes. Not sure.
All right, good. I can go out on tangent for like 5, 6 minutes here. So it used to be that for me, vacation. And again, for anybody that doesn't know, I've been going to Disney my entire adult life on vacation. I've had kids since I was 21 years old. So literally every vacation I went on has been centered around the kids and us going to Disney World essentially. So that's really my experience. And I know it might be not that's not everybody's experience. Everybody's going to go to whatever fucking Jamaica or Puerto Rico or whatever, as far as like a nice island and resort is concerned. And again, different rules might apply there. And kind of, I guess you say, honestly, I don't really have much basis of reference within those scenarios. But again, for me, Disney was always that scenario where they used to have a food plan that you buy into. And at first glance, when I looked at his food plan many, 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 many years ago, right? Yeah, almost close to 2 decades ago now, for Christ's sake. I'm old as shit. When I first looked into that food plan for the family when we were going, it was one of those things where it's like, Jesus Christ, why is this so expensive? And is this going to be worth it? Because now I'm locked into all these things, right? Like I wanted to literally enjoy myself when it came to food when I went on vacation back then. That's all I cared about was like the food. I didn't really think about, all these other exciting things. I was just there to narrow in on eating everything I could possibly fit in my face and having lots of good food, right? So eventually, though, I made a decision that I was going to go with this food plan. And what this food plan was you got 3 meals a day from any restaurants within Disney. So they have some pretty good restaurants within Disney too, where it's like whatever high-end restaurants that are going to cost you whatever. With my family, whatever, three, four, five, close to $500 sometimes for a meal. So it's part of that, where you go in and everybody gets an appetizer, an entree, and a dessert. Everybody at the table gets one, right? So you get that you're well fed at every single meal. Then in between those meals, you also get 3 snacks a day. And the snacks can range from anywhere from like the soft pretzels that you see or like the Mickey ice creams that you see, all the way to what they call a quick service meal. So, like if you want a burger and fries as one of your snacks, you can get a burger and fries as a snack in between your giant fucking sit down meals that you're going to get reservations for at the nice restaurants. So when I say the first time I went, it was so much food. I think I honestly gained like it was like 15 to 18 pounds on that one trip that we went on. I got fat really quick, really easily, and it was lovely for a moment there. But
I was gonna say that sounds
again,
amazing.
yeah. So again, I used to make my entire trip. So I would literally get excited about that. And it wasn't until honestly semi recently where we started going on vacation, especially with having a bigger family now and everything, where I would try to make decisions that were a little bit more reserved and a little bit more kind of, I guess you say, respectful as it relates to health, fitness, and all that different stuff. But it was one of those things where it was kind of like, again, my initial thought process when I was going on vacation was that meal plan getting fucking full as hell and legitimately walking around these parks trying to walk off the food that I just ate. And I'm not talking about getting steps. I meant just because I was so full and so bloated that it was like, I gotta go move. I can't sit here anymore. You know what I mean? I would
Mhm.
turn into like a fucking, you could roll me around the parks, right? So again, my entire vacation centered around that. And somewhere along the way, probably a little bit because I was I overdid it when I was younger in terms of thinking, too obsessively about food and my weights and trying to maintain a certain level of shape and all that. And I probably like negatively impacted some vacations at some point somewhere. But then evolving now to a place where it's kind of like I have a little bit more freedom, but also still making really good decisions. It's kind of turned into a scenario where I can walk into any situation, but even specifically on vacation, and not be in a place where my thought process is made up behind what I am able to eat, what I want to eat, what's on the menu. I can walk into a place immediately, look at the menu, and be like, oh, wow, that looks good. That looks good. That looks good. But I also don't think twice about it when I'm not eating any of it. And I'm either keeping it moving because it wasn't time for me to eat, or I just, whatever. I brought my own meal and the kids got something from that. Like I am not caught up mentally anymore by being in these. And I recognize that throughout this trip where it was almost one of those things where I almost had to tell myself, like, dude, fucking like be less prepared so that you're more vulnerable to the
Mm-hmm.
moment and you can make decisions within the moment, because I really wanted to try to have that kind of vacation where I just kind of let down the guard a little bit. And again, I just found myself in those scenarios where it was kind of like I wasn't, I lack of better verbiage here again, plagued by the idea of like what's available from a food perspective. I was more like, looking at the kids, like enjoying the parks, like, just kind of like being within the moment, so to speak, as far as enjoying the vacation and not looking at it from the perspective of enjoying food on vacation,
Yeah,
right? Like,
exactly.
yes, enjoying food and enjoying a meal with the family sometimes was part of the trip, but it wasn't the basis of the trip. It wasn't, yeah, it didn't make or break the trip. And honestly, it's one of those things where that unconsciously happened. I didn't work to do that. We talk about it all the time, right? We do. We talk about it a lot. I talk about it with clients, but again, in my own personal journey, that wasn't something that I learned from a respectable from one of my coaches or from a podcast or whatever. It was just one of those things that kind of gradually and naturally happened because I didn't like what I was doing there for a while, whether it was kind of gaining all the weights, right, and feeling like shit after my vacation, or looking at vacation almost in this scared, nervous, anxious way where it's like, oh, I got to be able to maintain this. I have to get ready for vacation, then I got to try to maintain it because last time I
Mm-hmm.
gained so much weight the first 2 days because I suppressed everything for so right. It was almost like there was that negative set mindset around
Yeah.
things for a period of time, and now it's kind of just naturally evolved to a reality where it's like, dude, I don't want to deal with being fat on vacation. I don't want to deal with being anxious on vacation. I just want to make good decisions. But again, that's led me
Exactly.
down the path of like not being kind of governed or having my mood or having anything attached to the food that's in the vicinity when
Yeah.
we're there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think for other people, like this can be a different different journey, I guess, trying to find that, I hate to say balance again, but trying to find that balance and try to find that in between where they do make good choices, but they're not super super strict to the point where they have anxiety, but they're also not, they don't have the fuck it all syndrome where they just eat everything. But I honestly think, at least for me, it happened with time and practice and skill and just like doing the thing over and over again, like freezing my food because that's what works for me. I freeze my protein, I
Yeah.
put it on my suitcase or I put it in my checked bag. I go to the grocery store once I get there. So just practicing it over and over. And then if I do go out and stuff, that's something that you can practice all year round. It doesn't have to be on vacation, but practicing making good choices when you are out to eat with the family or you're at a family function or whatever, making good choices in that scenario. I think it's just a skill that you develop over time as you
Yeah.
continue to do it.
You know what's a perfect example for me? Honestly, I told a lot of people that it was kind of like the posts I made on Instagram and everything were about me leaving on the 14th. Excuse me. But what I was telling people, right, was that my vacation kind of started on the 13th because we had the party. So basically it was done with work. I was getting ready to leave on the 13th, and then we had the ECC party. But even at that party, perfect example where it's like I literally like did not even think about it or process it mentally until right now. I didn't think about it at all until right now. Right. And it was just one of those experiences that we had where I was thinking it was dinner. And then I literally just talked about I didn't fucking eat anything there. I literally didn't eat anything. I had
Yeah,
like
you
three
didn't.
beers. I was the
But
only
and
one
it
too. I
wasn't
think eating
weird.
anything.
Like it wasn't weird.
Yeah, because I honestly didn't make it. Like I didn't think about it at all. Like I honestly, I had no intention of going there and eating. And I think on that day too, I ate really minimally because again, I was running around all day. But again, to me, that event had
Me
nothing
too.
to do
That
with
same
food.
day, I
It
was
had,
like, I had one meal before.
yeah, yeah. Well, I was also running around. You were running around because of the party, and you were probably in your mind about the party. I was running around trying to pack and everything
I got
and the party.
balloons.
Yeah, yeah. The blues were actually sweet, but the bottom line is, and what I'm trying to convey here to people is like, I honestly, it wasn't weird because I was just sitting there doing my own thing, drinking. I didn't think about the food. Like it had nothing to do. I didn't think that I didn't want the food. I didn't think that I did want the
That you
food.
want
I didn't
exactly.
even, it wasn't even part of my thought. It literally did not enter my mind until we are talking about it right now. And I'm kind of contemplating like the process of my vacation, as it were. And again, that's probably the biggest example that I can make where it's like we're in this scenario. It was burgers and fries. Like it's not like it was bad food by any stretch of
Yeah.
imagination. It hard to get that wrong, right? And I'm pretty sure you guys all said it was pretty good. It wasn't bad, right?
You just need salt.
Oh, okay. Well, it was burgers
A
and fries.
lot of
To be
salt.
honest with you, that's
Me
okay,
and
fine.
Basti were like, "Ugh."
So that's how little that I actually involved myself with the food, though, that I don't even remember whether
But yeah,
people
I
said it
also
was
think
good,
that
bad,
that
or indifferent.
may maybe like come down to someone's relationship with food. Like,
100%. That's the point. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, like I don't know, like a competitor post show, because even your relationship with food will evolve throughout every part of your like will evolve with you and where you're at in your life. Like a competitor coming out of a contest prep, they're going to be food focused as hell, and all they think
yeah.
about and all they want is food, 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 food. But if you're mid off season, you're eating a lot of food, you don't want to think about food. Or if you have a lot going on, you're getting ready for a vacation or getting ready for a something, like just have a lot going on, you're not gonna think about food.
Well, I think every scenario, though, that you can paint, even the post-show scenario, honestly,
Yeah.
is one of those situations where it's like, as you continue to evolve and as you continue to get better, and honestly, more than anything else, as you continually practice healthy habits, good decisions, and refining that relationship that you have with food through those actions, right, and through those thought processes, right? Because everybody talks about relationship with food. What is that? It's those things. Those things are the precursors to a quote unquote healthy relationship with food, right?
Yeah.
Is being able to, be in those situations in terms of the way that you're thinking about your food, and honestly, not having it govern your thoughts, not having it be your entirety of those thoughts. So even when you're post show, right, or post diet or whatever it is, being able to be in certain situations and not have the food be the entire concept of things comes with the more you do those things and put
More,
yourselves
yeah.
in those positions,
Exactly.
right? And ultimately end up successful there, right?
Mm-hmm.
With being able to manage those things. Now it's almost like I could be in almost any situation at any time. And it's like, do I want to fucking eat? Yeah. But I'll be 100% honest with you. Like, and again, I'm 38. So people have to remember, like, this didn't happen. There was definitely periods of time where I was the exact opposite, on the total opposite end of the spectrum, where it was probably I was closer to having an eating disorder. Not that I ever would consider myself having such, right? But I was probably closer to having an eating disorder than I was closer to having a healthy relationship with food, right? Where it was a scenario where I would undereat, and then in a certain situation not be able to control myself,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I was hungry or I was, I neglected wanting this, and this for so long that when those things I opened up the ability to have those, the floodgates were open and I had
Yeah.
way too much of it at any one time, right? Now, again, in any scenario that I might be in, even if it's post show and or post dieting and I'm fucking starving and like I'm just like honestly, for lack of better verbiage, malnourished. I said lack of better verbiage 16 times so far.
Yeah.
I'm just like malnourished. I don't have enough nutrition because I haven't been eating well, right? So I'm legitimately hungry, not just kind of like, oh, I haven't eaten for a few hours.
Yeah.
I haven't eaten enough for fucking days on end, and I am hungry as hell, right? Even in those scenarios, there's honestly a point where it's like, do I really want pizza? Yeah, I do really want pizza, but I also really, really, really want, again, ground bison, white rice, fucking, broccoli, maybe even like if I really
Never
want to get
had
crazy,
ground
air fry a
bison.
side of. Oh, it's fucking delicious. It's great. It's
What does it
fantastic.
taste
It's
like?
my, it's
Sorry,
my
this is
favorite
so
food.
off topic.
It's to me, it's like the filet mignon of ground beef, right? So yeah, it's like super soft. Like people talk about bison being so lean. If you get a 90% lean ground bison, I'm sorry, you can even overcook the shit out of it, and it's still super soft and tender compared to like regular ground
Maybe
beef.
I'll go
Super
get
tender.
that today.
It's expensive, but it's delicious. But yeah, I would honestly, there's certain cases where I would opt for, or even in the majority of cases, I would opt to produce my own food, knowing that I'm going to enjoy it. See, that's the biggest thing for me with food is like nowadays I could go to these different places that we're talking about. Like if I ate something from that place that we had the ECC party at, Fort Jester,
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be a part of my brain that works in a way where it's like, am I going to enjoy this? I don't know, honestly. Like I'm almost on this so far the opposite end of the spectrum than I used to be, where it was like, I can't wait to get the courgette. I want
Yeah.
fries. I want burgers. I want
Yeah.
shitty bar food. Like, I can't wait. Now I'm on the opposite end of it where it's like there's this thing that plagues my brain where it's like even ordering the place last night, we had never had it before,
Uh-huh.
the Mexican place. So I'm like, I know a lot of people have told me it's good, but do I want that? Or do I want to just order a true and tried Danino's? I know Danino's is gonna be a pizza place
Yeah.
near our house. It's gonna be fucking delicious, and I can eat a lot of it. I'm gonna enjoy myself. I'm gonna be satisfied, but I kind of want to try a new place. But in the back of my mind, with that new place, it's always like, am I gonna like this? And then I'm cutting into it with
I'm
like
the same way.
hesitation.
And when I don't like something, if I'm having a free meal and it's something new and I don't like it, I genuinely like get so angry inside of me. I'm like, you fucking, this is not good. And I just
Yeah,
won't eat it because I'm just like, so, I mean, it's a waste of calories. It's a waste of my time. Like, I literally get hot. I get so angry.
yeah, and that's why for me,
And
honestly,
maybe that's like weird and not
I
okay. But
know
I
that's what I'm saying.
genuinely
Like,
want to punch a hole in a wall. I'm like, I'm like, are you kidding me?
yeah, well, you cross the line. Like now, you have eating disorder in the other way. Maybe
No,
she's like
like
angry around food.
food, if it's not to my liking when I'm having a free meal, I literally, that's why sometimes I rather have a free meal at home where
Yeah,
I can make it on my own, or I can have my mom make me rice and beans, ask my dad to make me his yummy steak and whatever. Like
yeah.
something that I know I really, really like, as opposed to, trying something and hating it and literally wanting to bash my head into a wall.
That's it. That for me, honestly, that there's a lot of that within the food experiences that I have now, especially when I'm eating out and like somebody else is preparing the food. And it's just one of those scenarios where I even find where a lot of restaurants now, there's a lack of consistency. You know what I mean? Even at some of the better restaurants, there's just a lack of consistency. And maybe it's not with the overall experience of the restaurant, but maybe within a particular dish, there's a lack of we went to this place called Enzo's Hideaway. It's in Disney. It's not the nicest place in the world, but it's not like it's a decent restaurant. You know what I mean? And we had an experience there last time we went. It was the first time we had ever tried it. And I don't know now. I don't know if it was in my head that I was starving at that moment, right when we had it the first time. And it was, I thought the first time we had it was fucking amazing. Like it's all house made pasta. It's all like very, very like Italian, right? Yeah. So we had like whipped ricotta cheese on
Oh,
what kind of bread was it, babe, the first time we had it?
Like a focaccia bread?
Oh no, it was ciabatta bread the first time though. Remember they said they changed it to
oh,
focaccia.
oh.
Yeah, so it was whipped ricotta and I think butter, like a cheese. Yeah, kind of like I don't want to say a sauce. It was like whipped. It was like
Mhm,
fluffy, you know what I mean? And they put it
mhm.
on top of this house-made ciabatta bread, right? It's fucking delicious. And then they
Oh,
have like these almonds, not almonds, shit, where'd I get that from? Olives. And they take the olives, it's like all different types of greens of black olives, and they put it in like an olive oil. My mouth is watering. And they season it with
me
like
too.
fresh herbs and salt, and it's so the fucking olives, dude. I'm a big olive guy to begin with. Both me
I'm
and
not,
Christine
but
are. Yeah, so that on top of like the cheese bread, oh, so fucking good. So now we went back. They changed it to house made focaccia bread. That's all made
mhm.
in house. Even better, honestly. I thought the bread
Yeah.
was even better. But we got one of the same exact dishes we got last time. This house made pasta with house made meatballs, and like a spicy marinara sauce. And it was fucking fantastic last time. This time, honestly, it did not have the same. The sauce was
See,
good.
I
The
would start
pasta was good.
crying. I would literally
Yeah,
start
the meatballs not even close to the same thing. Like it was legitimately like completely totally different. And the guy actually told us as much that some things had changed in the last year that we hadn't been there.
crying.
We did get another dish that was relatively good, but again, the experience wasn't the same, right? Is what I'm trying to get to. I had this amazing experience. Literally thought about it for 3 months, 4 months, however long it's been since we've been there, and it was one of the first places that we went when we got there this time because I wanted that fucking plate. I wanted that meal again,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And then we got in there, we had that meal. I'm kind of like, oh, fuck, man, what a
Yeah.
huge fucking. It was still
Yeah,
good,
because
but it was,
also
it
you
was a
do hype
decent
it up a
letdown.
bit. Like my birthday's
Yeah,
coming up, and I we always go to the same restaurant. For the past 2 years, it's been me, my boyfriend, his parents, and my parents, and we go to the same restaurant. It's a cute little thing. I order the same thing because it always hits. The place is called Peking Pavilion. Have you been to
yeah.
Peking?
No, but
And
I know
they
it's really
have
good.
the Peking chicken, and they basically it's Bell and Evans chicken, and then they'll take it and like what is it called? Like shred it all in front of
Shut it.
you
Yeah,
and make you little wraps with like cucumber and some little sauce, and like it's so good, and it hits every single time. But if I ever go and it doesn't, taste as good, I'd literally start crying. I'd be like, "Are you kidding me?
yeah,
Like I come here once a year for my birthday, and and this
yeah.
didn't taste
No,
that good."
You know what meatballs and pasta I've never had that have been bad ever. Like it's completely totally enjoyable every single time I've ever had it to where I can eat it and sound completely totally stuffed and over full. Actually, my last show, it's what I had immediately post show.
Where?
Christine's pasta and meatballs.
Oh, Christine's Pasta Bowl, duh.
But that's what I'm saying. That's it's just adding to the point, right? Where it's like,
Yeah.
you know, like you have certain things that you know you can rely on that you can really enjoy. You know, having that kind of ability to say this is better than going here and doing this, right? Whether that's on vacation or we're home now,
Yeah.
right? It's one of those scenarios where I find for myself there's a little bit more comfort, right? And being able to provide myself with a meal that's got some more consistency to it than going to these places and being a social gathering and like getting the same type of like value from that meal. And I mean that sincerely when I say value. Like it's not as enjoyable. It's not, it doesn't make the moment more enjoyable. It doesn't make my time with those people more enjoyable. If anything, I go the exact opposite where
I
like
get
you're saying
pissed
you get
off and I
genuinely
stop
emotional upset.
talking to people.
Yeah. Well, now it negatively affects my experience, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if I opted to not have that food and I just was there to enjoy the people, enjoy the environment, have fun, right? Maybe have a couple of drinks and just enjoy the ambiance like we did it, like I did at that party,
Yeah.
right? Now that doesn't complicate matters. You know what I mean? And I could still, let's say it is a meal, it is a day where I want to have a free meal. Fine, I'll come home and I'll make that free meal for myself, or maybe I'll make it before I go, or whatever the case might be. Because again, maybe it makes it weird, quote unquote, for somebody else in that setting. They're like, how come you're not eating? No, I don't fucking don't worry about it, dude. I'm
Yeah.
cool,
Eat
man.
your
I need to
food.
think about it. Yeah, or maybe like I'll pick at an entree, pick at an appetizer or something like that. It's fine. But again, at the end of the day, I think the point that we're making right now is around the concept of relationship with food, maturing as it relates to some of these settings that we're going to find ourselves in, the environments that we'll find ourselves in, and being able to make not better or worse decisions, but just decisions that are going to be more
Conscious.
beneficial to you. Yeah, or more beneficial to you within that moment, regardless of how you know that impacts you, whether it's like we just said where we're trying to stay away from something that might create a negative mindset because it's not as good as we wanted, whatever, you know what I mean, just being able to make a better decision in that scenario that's better for you acutely, like in that moment, and you know potentially long term as far as your health and wellness is concerned.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
but I
sure.
think
We
now we're
kind
at
of,
time.
yeah, we went all over the place, but that is it. Thank you for listening. We will catch
Word.
you guys next week.